Here is where tradition never dies. This is your radio, K-Man.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio K-Man's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio K-Man's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for joining us. If it's as hard as it is for some, then it's going to be easier for others because it's harder for others. You know what I mean? Well, I don't, but I'll tell you why. We have the excellent company, the brain, the intellect, the charm, the charisma of the one and only Jevy. Whether he's on stage or whether he's on parade. Jevy, what's up, bro?
How you doing, man?
All right.
Good to be back.
Yep. Well, join us because he's going to give us a few minutes of his time as we invite you to share with us. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village. Convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for joining us as we invite you to be a part of the discussion. Always appreciate you taking time. In many days, we know that we are not exactly where we want to be, not exactly how we want to be, but we dig deep and we're thankful for life. For to say where there's life, there's hope. Where there's hope, there can be happiness. And where there's happiness, there in it may lie some semblance of health. Well, the relations we form sometimes are the ones we abuse, and those are the ones that we treasure, we tend to discard. My sincerest apology for those that I have somehow managed to put to the margin. But my friend Jevy, while you're here, thank you for your counsel, your company.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me on. It's been quite some time.
Too long, man. Too long.
I know, too long. I've been meaning to catch up off air, even, and that hasn't gone through. But all in time. I guess, the Lord is keeping good people away from bad people,
Hey. I'm not that bad, man. But thank you for being a good person so that you can draw alongside the not so well. But in sharing that, though, isn't that one of the challenges that maybe we are failing to appreciate in this particular era in which we find ourselves in human history? That we are understanding as social creatures, just like, if I may say, for those of us who have pets, and a cat in particular, we see the cat draw alongside because the cat wants to be petted, right? We pet the cat, and the cat purrs, and the cat seems to respond positively and likes that. And if for some reason we, as the person, get something nice from that as well, presumably there's research to say that level of interaction helps both animal and human. So much so that we've trained, again, let's say the canines, train our dogs to be receptive as aids, to even be perceptive to some imminent medical thing that can alert the person. I share that to ask ourselves, in knowing that we are social creatures, even the most introverted of people need, not necessarily they want, but they need a semblance of engagement, interaction, stimulation.
Right.
And we deny ourselves because we say we don't have time, we're busy doing the things that need to be done, and time passes, death, reaches our doorsteps, and then it's too late. But what do we do in an ensuing period where there is a semblance of life to make happiness, to be merry, to fellowship, The pensive mind wonders when the brain is engaged.
You're asking the $1 million question.
No, man, that's a $10 million question. Whoa.
The $10 million, the secret. That's like the secret of life question, you know. I couldn't say, but, you know, I think especially living in the world we live in, it's about appreciating the moments that you can create, the moments that you can have, you know, because it don't make, for me at least, it don't make sense, you know, stressing and worrying about something that I don't have no control over. What I do have control over is, you know, how I respond in a situation or how I interact with people, and for me that's the focus, you know. But for everybody, it's probably a little bit different.
So let me ask, right? And this is where we invite others, because oftentimes we can easily see the negative in everything. We can easily respond in a way that some would say, is vitriolic. It's malicious. It's hurtful. And it's probably true.
Yeah.
And then there's little analysis and less discussion to find a resolution, to find and get to the core, as I say, the crux of the matter. So in looking at that and looking at where we are in our lives, sometimes we say the heart knows what the heart wants, right? But we are not able, or we're reluctant to pursue that thing. You know, it may be an evening of pool just to fellowship. It may be spending time in your garden to tend to what is obviously an overgrown flower bed, or it may be to nurture a friendship, a relationship, romantic or otherwise. And the commitment, the sacrifice, even the desire to do so is avoided because of, we fill in the blanks, right? And yet the joy that would come from that, you know, the new recipe that we've been longing to try. Maybe we did it before and we want to do it again. Or maybe that joy, as some get from their garden, whether it's attending the orchids, whether those 3 blooming, you know, by the front door, or whether the greenhouse and it hangs, you know, and you spend your time. All of these things that cause us to get joy and fulfillment in life. And looking at what has been the last 18 months, thereabouts, for many of us. I don't say this lightly. I don't say it to be inflammatory. I understand that it's taken as such. But having the opportunity to speak to a number of people and loosely put them in the medical profession, who have shared that we have isolated ourselves, insulated ourselves, such that we are now starting to see the impact on us as people.
As individuals.
Right? And so I say, and I'm confident and willing to defend it because of one elderly gentleman who's probably the most amenable, perhaps the most honorable in terms of not just his years and experience and expertise, but his demeanor, his input. He says that he would refer to this period of time that we have to spend as house arrest. But he said, right, now this is a fine English gentleman, no hands, you know, no ifs, ands, or buts about it, cultured, educated, well-traveled, so all the best things that you could find, the most refined of people, right? He says, but for prisoners having actually more access and freedom, because even the prisoner in solitary gets a period of time outside. The prisoner in Gen Pop gets a time to go into the yard, to use the prison terminology, to at least get some fresh air. But for those who are confined, again, I borrow his words and I subscribe to it, to that space, let's say it's a room at the corporate prison, right, that we've converted. If there's no balcony, they can't leave the 4 walls, that space. They can't until that time. And if they do, there are significant consequences for doing so.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to belabor it, that's not to inflame anybody. It's to recognize that what will that do for that individual? It may be 5 days, it may be 15. Is it conditioning? Is that a sufficient time to create a mindset? Is it creating within them, and some of us respond much more quickly to those behaviors than others, and much more harshly.
I see the point you're making there, like the effect, but I don't think, like, for example, like a government can't legislate, in my opinion, or regulate for something like that.
Okay.
Right? You know, it just, to me, an unfortunate circumstance. Like, yes, that will be an eventual cause of isolation. You know, when I was in isolation, it was not the greatest time.
Okay.
But I think I would dare say I had the support of people when I was in there.
Right, okay.
So things that I could not do because I was in isolation, you just had to make the best situation. People, delivered foods and snacks, magazines and stuff like that.
Engaged in a way to keep
exactly.
Okay,
He did video calls as opposed to going to a bar and meeting somebody. It's a video call,
a virtual coffee even,
or even go for a coffee.
Yeah,
right.
Right.
You're just learning to cope with the circumstance that you're in, and everybody. It's not just Cayman. Everybody to some degree has to deal with isolation. Yes, it's probably a bit more strict here. Because we have such a small community,
right?
And they're really trying to control the spread. But I don't think it's something that they could possibly plan for. Yeah, they could probably be a few things that would make maybe isolation a little bit more easier. But I don't think you can plan for all those circumstances.
No,
what makes an individual comfortable is subjective.
Right.
I've stayed in isolation 3 times now in Cayman.
Yeah.
And they were all relatively comfortable to me. There were things that were not allowed, like
I won't joke.
they don't allow the alcohol in the facility and stuff like, which even I didn't
overnight company
or that, right?
I shouldn't joke. It's like behave,
but it's temporary. That's so it is going to have an effect on people. I think there's a documentary that I did as a part of my course,
right.
And I did an interview with Dr. Lockhart. And it was from then that he was talking about the mental effects that isolation and stuff can have on people. But it is temporary, and I think that people often look at the situation and go, "Well, this is what's happening now," but just for how long?
So let me ask of you then, right? If you're comfortable, you shared it publicly, you shared it with me, and you said you've been there 3 times now, right? 3 strikes and you're still out. So okay, another dumb concept, but anyway, that's another story. Let me ask: has it gotten progressively easier the first time versus the second time versus the third time, or worse? To be confined, and I use that word consciously, to that space for that period of time. I guess the last time was probably less than the first time.
Yeah,
right?
Last time was 6 days.
Right. So has it gotten easier for you in your mind? Or is it like, oh, okay, now here I am again, but I can't wait for day 6?
For me, it's different. I'm always, most people when they see me, I'm usually just coming out of isolation. Because I'm never here for a long period of time before I go back to the UK. Yeah. So for me, the motivation is to be back here.
Right.
And so isolation doesn't seem as bad as to the other option, which is to stay in the UK, which is
that could be horrible.
That was a horrible decision for me prior to COVID-19.
Seasoned with salt and disappointment, is it?
Yeah, exactly. So you remember that?
I shared it, man. Trust me.
But for me, because I wanted to be in Cayman, I'm willing to do the isolation.
Okay.
That's it. Like maybe if I was living in Cayman and if I had to do the isolation to go to another country, I'm like, all right, well,
not worth it.
It's not worth it.
Okay.
But for me, I'm coming home.
Yeah.
You know, and so I want to do whatever it takes to get home.
So a level of commitment to the national good, to be responsible person, and my perception of you, not just your intellect, but your kindness, your consideration, the compassion you have for.
Thank you.
No, seriously, I mean, I don't associate with people lightly, and I don't take that, in a which way. But you, like many, and I say this with the greatest of love and respect for all of our governance models and the people in authority in whatever capacity, right? From the person at the door who says, okay, inside is full now, just wait until we get space, to whoever we think is the highest authority in our land, right? Our parents or whoever, right? It was the responsiveness, the respectfulness, and the cooperative spirit of the society in general that has contributed thus far to our success. All the competing things aside, if we have all done globally the same thing, and there is a level of success to date that distinguishes this country from other places, I think it's because of the people.
Absolutely.
Right? There have been a few of us who have done some things for different reasons. We can't take the confined space and we go out, we're breaking curfew. And I joke, I don't see him as a playmate, as my mom would say. Got a respect for him as a person in his office, but being a commissioner, and I love the accent. He would say being warned
for prosecution.
I always thought he was thinking being warned for prostitution. I'm thinking, can I get some of that? And but I cope by deflecting through an attempt at humor, right? And so we find that maybe after the break, as you have time and you wait for your next engagement, we can chat with that, because I think as we go into the break, we reflect on Dr. Lockhart's public commentary that maybe the importance of words like, social distance should be replaced immediately
with physical distance.
Distance, right? Because we can still be socially connected, especially in this technologically driven environment, and still be socially present, right? You and I could, in 2 different time zones, sit and have some sort of libation, whether it's a coffee or tea or otherwise. I enjoy the coconut water that we have. You sit in your space with the screen, I sit in my space with the screen, and we can converse for 5 minutes or 5 hours and not be physically present, but socially connected, right? So maybe that's one of the things that we could consider.
I still think it's a bit of social distancing because...
Okay.
Like, I agree. Like, it is physical distancing. I've actually had that conversation too with Dr. Lockhart as a part of the interview that I did with him. But as much as I agree, it is physical distancing. The use of technology and stuff, there's only a certain percentage of the population who are going to actually be able to engage with that. You can say that there are arguably more people using social media and Zoom and video conferencing and all that stuff. But there's still a percentage of the population who can't engage with those, none whatsoever.
Who don't want to. So,
who prefer not to. Either can't or don't want to.
Right.
And so for them, I guess it is still a social distancing because they're not getting that interaction that they would have usually had. People who can use Zoom and stuff, they're finding a different way to interact. But
so the question, as Ms. Susan reminds us, hey guys, stop talking. There's a break here to take, and we really have the greatest and the hardest working sales team, and that's why the advertisers are so willing to advertise, because we reach the widest audience here at Radio KMI. But as we go into that break, we can still socialize by being physically distant. So we can sit at in our
6
backyards by whatever that prescribed distance is. I mean, I have questions about how people come up with certain numbers, and people call in and say, well, 95% of the population, did you do a study on that? Because, if you could be statistically correct, let's make sure you are. All right, when we come back from the break, Jevi isn't taxing tired yet. He waited till I tax him after that. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Today is the final day for Tomlinson Furniture's anniversary sale. Huge savings on everything in stock, including the mattress gallery, never seen prices on bedroom sets, dining sets, solid wood chests, TV stands, and much, much more. For every purchase made, you can spin the wheel for even more cash back and instant prizes. But you only have today left, so get down to Tomlinson Furniture, located on the corner of Hospital and Walkers Road, for great savings on their anniversary sale. Sale ends today, Tuesday, August 31st.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. We are a non-for-profit member-centric plan with a democratically elected volunteer board of trustees representing all sectors of the Cayman Islands economy. Chamber Pension has an all-in expense ratio of 0.72% over 16,000 members, $430 million in assets under management. We were the first multi-employer pension plan approved by the regulator in the late 1990s. And today, we are still strong, secure, and are here for employees and employers alike. If you would like to join or request further information, visit chamberpension.ky. And for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, LinkedIn or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you.
It's back to school time, and Christian Enlightenment Center has those special school supplies to help make your new school year a success. Come in today and shop for your pens, pencils, rulers, erasers, stickers, Bibles, Bible covers, Bible storybooks, key rings, bookmarks, journals, coloring books, colored markers, and so much more. All back-to-school Bibles are 10% off. That's right, 10% off. So hurry in today and shop for those special school supplies. Christian Enlightenment Center, located in the Arboretum Plaza on Elgin Avenue, Georgetown. Open Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Call 945-1252.
Shaken yet standing firm.
I was not built to break.
This is Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. In the studio, a good friend Jevi sits with us, and as we're about to read a PSA, that we want to make sure that, for those who are on the BRAC in particular, understand our love and our respect. So for our loyal listeners whom we love immensely, we just want to send the greatest sense of appreciation for your patience. Radio Cayman's vigorously working to complete the repairs on our antenna, our transmitter on the BRAC. We crave your continued patience while we bring our 93.9 band fully back online. So we're getting there, and thanks so much for being a part of that. Jevi, as we were just going to the break and chatting, and I'm wondering to what extent, as a populace, I always believe that this country, we can call it what we want, as people, we are so well positioned to do so much, to see the greatness, to be able to quickly identify whatever challenges, the shortcomings, the weaknesses, the little things that we could improve. We can leverage not just the resolve and the resilience that are within the people, ancestral and otherwise, but the newcomers to our shows who bring with them all sorts of great things and all sorts of things in general. And without it being some sort of lab, some sort of controlled space, but we can, because of the size, the population, the size geographically, the thing that is somehow specific and almost unique to a small space, and make it so much better. Now, like everything, there has to be a will. The political will we talk about, the personal will, that will. I'm wondering if we're not somehow, because we're busy, because we're fearful, because we're probably not as appreciative of that, if we don't do this, we won't have it. And because of past attempts, this has been the consequence. So what is it in local parlance? Well, I tried to help him before and I got kicked in the teeth, and I got to do that again. We have that notion that that tried thing resulted in this negative thing, so how to do that again? How do we make sure that we don't lose that sense of resolve, that we fail to appreciate the resilience that is, the Cayman Islands, and then make that continued sacrifice to serve?
Again, with the $1 million questions, the best I could say, I believe the reason people lose this, I guess, will to fight, for me is social media. Social media paints this absolute perfect image, and when people start to observe that their surroundings are not reflective of that perfect image in whatever form, whether it's a political or social issue, then they start to get disgruntled, they start to get upset. So it might be that some people just need to take a break from social media. They need to start have a little time where they do some research, where they figure out what is their position on something, not just going off of what social media says, because if you're just going off what social media says, if how you respond to something is just based on how social media responds to something, then we don't need you to respond to something, because there's already enough people who are just going to respond just because social media says this, a newspaper article headline says this, because these days the people don't even read the actual article, they just read the headline. So I mean, I think it's a personal level of responsibility that you just have to want different. You have to you can't possibly just continue to blame government or blame private organizations or blame this person or blame that.
Just blame. Yeah.
It doesn't work. That the blame game not took you anywhere.
Yeah.
So
I wrote down responsibility, and seconds later you uttered the same word. That sense of personal responsibility, and by extension accountability. We want other people to be accountable, but are we prepared to be held accountable? We want others to be accountable, the politician, accountability and transparency, but are we prepared to do the work?
But what does that even mean? This is for me what leads to a lot of people, believing that the government, for example, and by the way, I'm not here to defend the government. We just This is just talking and
that's right,
and whatever. But a lot of people, to me, have these views about the government because they don't understand what's happening. So because they don't understand what's happening, all of a sudden, no, they're politicians, they're not doing nothing. They just lazy. They just collecting a paycheck.
Doesn't matter who it is.
Doesn't matter who it is, because there's no willingness to actually engage. Like, I get it. One of the problems for me, I've said this on your show before, I love Parliament. I think it's interesting. It is like, what will Cayman do next? Episode, whatever, coming up. And it's always live. It's great. I love watching Parliament.
Yeah,
but the biggest problem that I have with Parliament is when you're watching it, you have no idea what bill is being discussed, what motion it is. If you're not watching from the beginning and you hear what the clerk announced or whatever, you don't know what it is.
Right.
So I believe that to that extent, there are things that, like, for example, the government can do that would make government procedures seem more accessible or interesting. But even if government does all of that, even if they put up all the graphics and they put up which bill it is or all the information on screen, it still doesn't change it. If you don't have the level of personal interest, if you don't want to do it, there's nothing the government can possibly do for you if you don't want to do it.
Yeah, man.
And so that's me.
And I'm with you. And Ms. Susan, is it the break or the call first? Which we doing? Take the call. Okay. I'm going to share something, but callers are important. Let's do it. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, man. How are you today?
Oh, fantabulous, sir.
Fantabulous.
I like that.
I like that word, man.
So far.
Coconut water go a long way.
Oh, yes, sir. I've heard of being socially distant and also physically distant. But could it be that in many cases we could probably define spiritually distant? For example, speaking of politics, also there are times when people may not believe in their local representatives, but in his heart, in their heart, they are with the people. In so many cases, but they are so busy, we couldn't expect to see them, half of the day.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like also in the spiritual area, we might say, for example, there's no God, or there is, or this type or that, until we gain some sort of evidence, and then we say, I believe, and after that we change our ways. We start to get a little negative again, and then we get that bit of evidence that he's there, or like I said, what some of us believe in. Some believe in Jesus, some believe in this and whatever different that I don't want to get into right now. But that spiritual belief also, I think we need to be a little more observant of things like nature itself, supernatural sort of events and those things. It's so many things that are there and is to be discovered by some. I'm sure in years to come you will hear that scientists have discovered this thing that we just can't believe is actually there. You know, in the future we always make discoveries. You know, and universities will have to advance the universities of when 1855 or I mean this is 2021 now. Some people may even preach doom that, well, they preached it about the year 2000. This is the year 2021 now. And what do we actually look forward to? Do we stop? Do we give up in life? Do we believe that we should give up because of this belief of the end of the world? You know, what does the other person believe? What evidence do they have? You know, it's so many differences of opinions and different levels of education. People are being educated in so many different ways. There's a big difference being among 100 people. You know, you're occupied among 100 people. You're always you know, occupied, and there's the astrologer, the person who observes the stars, you know, he learned different things. He sits down.
Spirit of discovery, my friend. Yeah, man. Respectfully, thanks for that. And maybe as the caller was sharing, not just physical, spiritual, but mindfully present as well. Let's pause and take this break. When we come back, as Jevi, you know, allows us to engage, we shall certainly benefit. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Back to school sale at Optical Outlook is on.
What? Summer just started?
We know, right?
I got you. Cool.
As I was saying, Optical Outlook back to school sale is on now. From now until September 1st, any student gets 50% off. That's half off lenses. Offer valid at all 3 locations: J. Scott Plaza in West Bay, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Cayman Brack. Call 746-2020 to make your appointment today. Come see the difference with Optical Outlook, Cayman's premier optical provider.
Hurricane season is here. If you're not prepared, it can really turn your life upside down. Fortunately, there's CG Britcay. Our people are here ready to assist at a moment's notice, with protection like alternative accommodation for those who are displaced due to a storm, and coverage for the cost of clearing debris, hiring surveyors, architects, and more. It's our priority to make sure you have what you need when you need it most. So when your life gets turned upside down, we can help to turn it around. CG Britcay. Good like that.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon, welcome back, and we invite you to call and share your thoughts. You certainly can engage us, take us in a different path. You can question, well, you guys are making any sense, or you can weigh in and say, wow, a reasonable approach to things. I'm honored that we have Jevi from different perspectives. One, the person he is. Two, the continued investment on the individual perspective in upward learning and the like, and as a country, both from the financial resources, but from the people who are saying, just draw alongside as you and many of our students sort of venture far afield to gain further study and experience, not just academically. But you shared something earlier, and if it's okay with you, one of my sort of, how do you say, views of you is that you're very much technically savvy. You understand media in its form. You use the camera, you use the audio, you use all those things in such a way, right? I, perhaps to less than my full, how do you say, full achievement and attainment, I deliberately avoid this social media nonsense.
Congratulations.
And I use that specifically. So very, very long ago, right? Like maybe last year, just kidding. Very long ago, I consciously thought that I would avoid that and make a point to avoid it. And then I met this lady who said, here's a phrase you need to be reminded of, a digital detox.
Yeah.
We do it in our bodies. We pay handsomely into the clinics to get a detox of some sort. But we spend so much time on this electronic thing, in this electronic world, that we don't know what it may be doing to our eyes, to our brain waves, to whatever, but to our socialization. So social media, in my mind, is not social. And let me ask you, because I think we confuse research with a Google search. When we do read something, do we have enough grounding and insight to know that this thing may not necessarily be accurate, right? Because we just accept what it is without questioning its foundation.
That to me is the biggest danger of social media. I think people, like you said, you brought up social media detox. I think that is important. But I want people to understand that social media is not real. It is.
What?
Believe it or not, it's not real.
From you?
Everyone who's on social media, to some degree, is posting the best version of themselves.
Okay.
And if you're just comparing yourself to the best version of what you're seeing of everybody else, you're already holding yourself to a ridiculous standard.
Yeah, right.
Now, there's a documentary that I did for my final project. And I had to write a report on it. And in the report, I had to justify why I did what I did.
Right, okay.
In the documentary. And one of the things I used was a quote from a guy, Bill Nichols, who said that humans have a tending to believe what they see, like what they're watching, what they're hearing.
Yep.
If what they're watching or what they're hearing appears to be true, even if it's not, even if you're very well aware that there are multiple different opinions.
Right.
If you are watching somebody who is saying something in a compelling way, you automatically take it to be true.
Right.
And to me stuck out, which is why I used it in my report. But I want people to be aware of that. Every time you see something on social media, don't think that it's because somebody put it there out of kindness of their heart.
There's an objective and agenda.
There's an agenda. Social media is a marketing platform. And if you are not using it as a marketing platform, if you're using it as your personal life, then you are the product. You are the product that is being marketed to.
Yeah, if you're not paying for it, especially.
If you're not paying for it, if you're just using it, you are the product. And so you cannot at all, especially when it comes, in my opinion, to political things. You cannot just take what you see on social media. There has to be a degree that I want to go and find this out for myself. You know, if you just have a news report and the headline sounds good just to get you to click on it, they don't really care if you read the news report.
Mm-hmm.
They're worried about you clicking, how
Mm-hmm.
much clicks they can get.
It's nothing other than selling you something because you're the product.
Or selling you. You are what is being sold,
Mm-hmm.
as my friend would say.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, it just takes some personal responsibility that I want to do more. I want to find out if this is true. Because you do have those people who, if they see it on social media, they believe it to be true.
Mm-hmm.
And I never quite got that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I looked at social media as what it is, a marketing platform.
Mm-hmm. Well, as we go into the break, I'm mindful of our callers online and respectfully inviting them to join us right after the news. But I'm reminded, Javi, that this thing that we call the internet or the web or whatever this is being called these days, when that first sort of started to come about, very, very, very long time ago, it was factual. It was mostly for academic and research. And it didn't have all this thing that it has now. It was just data and text and so on. And it was difficult to navigate. It was a way to share research, as it were, and trying to access it. Thankfully, it's a little bit easier, not necessarily better, but easier. So to your point, if we're not responsible individuals, not only in what we post or present, however format that is, but also what we consume. Back in the early days of economic theory, we talked about consumers and producers. Now we're prosumers. We're putting words together in a way that the producer and the consumer has melded. Not necessarily in and of itself a bad thing, but what I want to ask, if you help us after the break to understand, what do we do as individuals and as corporate entities and as a deliberate, conscious effort on the part of what's the word they use? Influencers. Now, those are not just the individual. Those are organized things, what we call bots and all kinds of stuff. We got some really interesting names, right? That try to deliberately sway a certain perspective, influence a political outcome, influence a particular agenda, all right? What do we do to be more discerning, more responsible, and understand that this thing that is being presented is in fact what it is, right? So that level of responsibility and consciousness, and then when we are, how do we pull it back from it so that we don't get a negative impact on us? Now the news is ready. Let's do that, and when we come back, as Javi ponders in his mind, the intellect of Javi. Hey, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom. Today's biggest news.
Cayman saw an increase in crimes reported last year despite of, or rather because of the lockdown. In 2020, 4,281 crimes were recorded in the Cayman Islands, a small bump of 59 when compared to the year before. More than 2,100 of them logged in Georgetown. West Bay saw crimes reported spike from 809 in 2019 to 958 last year, while Boddentown saw a slight decrease. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. Clashes have been reported between the Taliban and opposition militia in Afghanistan Panjshir Valley. A spokesman for the main resistance movement said it had killed 8 Taliban fighters who had attacked from all directions. But the Taliban said opposition troops had suffered heavy casualties and 3 of their checkpoints had been seized. And tens of thousands of people have been evacuated from the shores of Lake Tahoe in Northern California as a major wildfire continues to spread. The Caldor fire has already burned more than 191,000 acres, with just 16% of the fire brought under control. More than 3,500 firefighters have been deployed to combat the blaze, which began more than 2 weeks ago. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
For the latest in news and information,
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And as the phone lines are open, we invite your calls and excellent company at Javi. As we go to the phones, just a quick, semblance of our love and respect and appreciation for our listeners on BRAC. We value you. We want you to know that we are at Radio Cayman vigorously working to complete the repairs on the antenna, on the transmitter on the BRAC. Please, know that we really value your continued patience while we get our 93.9 frequency fully back online. Javi, you got a call. You stimulate the intellect. You intrigue the mind. Let's go engage the caller. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon.
Hey, and there's a man who speaks his mind. Welcome, man. How are you?
I'm all right.
All right.
Dwayne, there is a very important subject. I think the legislation assembly needs to put laws, for those sick-minded who try harass women sexually or harass children it is time for Cayman Island to put the registry for those
the register
who do
okay
such a register for such thing. And I argue all the MLAs
registry
who really care about the children of this country and the women of this country to do this registry. The other issue is, Dwayne, that people need to watch their children, mother, father, wherever, if they go to sport, if they go in the church bus, if they go to church, if they go anywhere. You can't trust anybody these days.
Right.
There's a lot of sick people, especially coming from a neighboring country. They are the highest, that country, the highest in the world in sexual harassment against women and children.
So when we look at, as I listen to you, when we look at this whole notion of having a sexual offense register and the like, and the behavior, can I then ask, we are seeing in our society an approach by parents and towards parenting that the parent who is actively engaged, who's not the lazy parent, who's actively engaged, not just monitoring their children, watching them carefully, making sure they're safe and all their friends are safe, and that they're not playing with fire, they're not running with scissors, they're not around people who may do them some harm, consciously or otherwise. We look at those parents and those adults and those people who are monitoring, supervising the children as if that's a bad thing, and then we flip the coin over and adopt what seemingly is a new concept for some of us, that parent now is being this overbearing, intrusive, there's a term that they use for it, come to me in a second, a parent who should not be doing that, because as a child, the child can go and do and act and don't need any instruction, guidance, and nurturing. Helicopter, I think is the word. So if we're conflicting, and confusing, and somehow misinterpreting, misapplying the approach to what a parent should be, the protector, the provider, the one who teaches how to love, how to feel love, how to be loved, what are we expecting from the child when the child is in fact placed in a situation that may result in, untold harm?
Yeah, I think, Dwayne, all parents need to watch their children in this country, to watch, women, they need to report whatever happened to them. And the authorities the police need to take the matters very serious, because it's becoming an issue in Cayman, and it's very, very sad that that's what's happening.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, Dwayne.
Thank you too, man. And I respect and appreciate the caller's perspective. But Javi, and we don't have to necessarily pick up that context, right? But tell me something. I mean, why is it that in a society, and not speaking for anywhere else, if we believe that it's important for us as a society to protect, we pass legislation, we say it publicly, the most vulnerable, and whatever that means, right? Because some of us seem to interpret it and apply it in different respects. But let's take our young people, our children. Very few people, even in the best setting when it comes to the vista, you're up on the top of a cliff overlooking a sheer drop, beautiful, water in the distance. how many of us would allow the child to venture close to the edge? And if we took the child, we probably hold the child very firmly. We ourselves will not go too close just in case it'll be a little slippery and we fall, right? Very few people would say, well, nobody would never, mind would do that. But yet, we somehow fail to do what the caller is saying. How do we protect from not just the stranger, but from the ones that we know and suppose they should trust? And then when something happens, we don't enforce anything, we don't set and make an example, we don't draw alongside and ensure that there is the requisite punitive measures, and then we provide the level of support and counseling and whatever need to the person who's been affected. But instead, we somehow shield the perpetrator, continue to victimize the offended, and go about a merry way. I mean, why that don't inflame people? Maybe it's just me. I don't know.
It is an inflaming situation, and who knows?
Right.
I couldn't possibly speak on behalf of the government. Why?
No. This is not for them. This is for us. We are the government.
But I'm saying, why? It may take, or it's taking so long to get a registry. I don't know. Yeah, I can really say.
But let me ask. I mean, we see like so many things, and I only say this because maybe some of us think too much about certain things. Maybe some of us don't think enough. Maybe we're quick to copy certain things without appreciating. So, a registry of such, is that the answer? What will that do? Not saying that it doesn't work or isn't effective or shouldn't be, right? But we understand it. Like, and I don't necessarily subscribe to these hard and fast things. We probably saw it when it comes to legislation, the strict liability sort of offenses where if you did this, therefore this is the consequence, no ifs, ands, and buts. And then the judiciary in other jurisdictions, not just here, have said, well, there's minimum mandatory sentencing, so this is what the law says, so therefore I have no discretion. In this instance, I would like to have been able to prescribe some alternative sentence or a reduced sentence or something else, but I can't because the law is very specific. You do this, this is what's happening, you've been convicted of that, and therefore this is what has to happen. But I wish I could maybe do something else, according to just a generalization. So with that in mind, what we see in some jurisdictions, and a few people here have even weighed in, 3 strikes and you're out. Well, sounds like a great thing. But the person who did something and got strike 1, did something else, not terribly bad, got strike 2, and then somebody else, now all of a sudden, on that 3rd strike, I mean, this is not a baseball game, they now become hardened criminals, all because as a society we've failed to provide support, counseling, corrective measures, something to help that person who may, have ended up where they are anyway, but we have not exhausted everything, and all of a sudden we're faced with this thing that creates almost like a prison for profit kind of scenario, and we just incarcerate a bunch of people, and you know what? They're just people. They don't matter. That seems to be the approach to some. There's no humanity. There's no respect. There's no love.
That's a mouthful.
You kind of think, boy, Isaac Harino.
Listen, no, man. I heard something you said that stuck out was,
just
what we could do to provide
right
for a better situation for people. I think it go back to what I said earlier. The government can provide this and provide that. At some point, right, it comes to personal responsibility.
That's it.
And so, for me, that's my key message. Right. You can't possibly think that a government creating legislation will solve all the problems. It won't.
It won't.
It absolutely won't.
You can't legislate for conscience, right?
Well, we see on social media that a lot of people are trying to advocate for legislating conscience and morality, which to me is also crazy.
Right.
But that's why I say it takes a certain level of personal responsibility. I don't know how else to say it. You can't possibly think that everything is always the government's fault.
Can I only, and again, only because of my perception of you, not just your, again, my perception, your intellect, but your amenable approach, the fact that to see Jevi without a smile is well to see the sun without a shine. in Jevi is just, let me then ask, right? I was privy to be a part of a conversation recently that had, I said at some point I'll find a opportune time, and I think today is it, to share some of that conversation. I have the consent of the people involved. And it was that as voters specifically, so two sets of people, voter and the person that is elected, so the electors and the elected, seemingly have this perception that the voter sees the elected, the politician, as this big bad thing that does everything and is blamed for everything. There's nothing good. They're always doing something wrong. They're always self-interested. They always benefit and all these things, right? Not saying that there's any semblance of truth in that across jurisdictions. But the question was asked, well, what is the voter doing? Is the voter actively engaged and informed? Is the voter stepping up to say, how can I help? What can I do to help to provide a level of counsel, input, guidance, support, assistance, and everything? And then to sort of make it worse, the society talks about the what we call the special interests. We have all kind of nice labels for things, and we fail to realize that thing that we call the special interest, because it's organized, it has a concerted effort, it's making a consistent thing to influence the agenda. That's what they say, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. But as the voter, we only exercise individually at some point on a predetermined date down the road, election day, by-election or general election. And between one and the next, all we do is grumble and complain. How do we expect anything to happen if we're not engaged, informed, and consistently persistent?
I don't know. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan because, again, I'm going to go back to social media. All I see on social media when I go on these days is people are saying, this is wrong. Hey, look at this. This is wrong. Okay. What happens after you've identified that this is wrong? What are you going to do? After you've shared the story to say, this is horrible, we need to do something about it. After you've shared that story, what are you going to do? Do you go to a public meeting? Did you try and sit down with your MP now? No longer MLA. Did you try and sit down with your MP? And what do you do if all you're doing is sharing something on social media or reacting to something on social media? I'm sorry to tell you, you're not doing anything to help.
Where's the solution?
You're doing nothing. Okay. You got to... I guess like that Michael Jackson song say, you gotta start with the man in the mirror, right? Yeah. You can't just think that by sharing this. Listen, the Bible. I shouldn't bring the Bible into this kind of conversation.
Even still, there's no Bible. Go on.
The Bible says God help those who help themselves. And if God can only help you if you help yourself, how the government gonna help you if you don't help yourself? I'm just saying the government not better than God now.
Yeah, faith without works is dead.
Dead.
Scripture says, right?
That's right.
So let me then ask, if you have time when we come back, right? If not, others will weigh in. Let me then ask as we go into this break, this whole notion that there are some, based on your thing, will say one person can make a difference. We quote this thing that we ascribe to Gandhi that talks about be the change you want to be. Many of us willingly throw that about, but we really doing anything about it as you have shared, right? So because we have this view that one person can make a difference, I'd say this respectfully and probably at the same time offend people who jump up and say, oh, Christ walked on earth amongst man and look at what we did to him. We criticize. All right, without understanding that was ordained. So we fail to do anything because one person can make a difference. We feel.
I don't believe that.
No, I don't either.
If you don't believe one person can make a difference, just remember if somebody have 299 votes and somebody have 300, the person with 300 still wins. One person makes a difference.
You play in a football game and you win by 1-0.
That's right. You win.
Or 10-9 in a shootout.
A win's a win.
A win's a win, right? You get the 3 points. So understanding that and being on the same page. And then secondly, well, I tried this before, or John had tried that before. Look what happened to them. Got kicked in the teeth and got this and that. And we give up before we even try. So let's talk about what the individual can do and what a collective will achieve if there's a shared objective.
Yeah.
All right. Stay tuned and join us right after the break.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Captain Charles Gerald Kirkconnell, 1891 to 1961.
Charles Gerald Kirkconnell was born and raised on Cayman Brac. He was married to Olivine Elizabeth Eden of Grand Cayman, and the couple had 3 children. Captain Charlie was one of the founding brothers of the shipping and merchandising firm of R.B. Kirkconnell and Brothers Limited. Many Caymanian seamen were trained on Kirk vessels and later worked for national bulk carriers. Captain Charlie was also a shipbuilder who built the largest ship ever to be built in the Cayman Islands, the M.V. Kirksons. He and the late Bertie Foster were instrumental in helping to build the airport on Cayman Brac, which they both helped to finance. The clearing of the airstrip was done entirely by hand. Captain Charlie financed most of the houses that were built by seamen employed by NBC, as there was no bank on the Brac. He served as a vestryman for the sister islands in the Assembly of Justices and Vestry. Captain Charles Gerald Kirkconnell.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter will be taking appointments September 1st to the 14th at his Crew Road Clinic. Appointment slots are limited, whether you're seeking advanced skincare, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles. Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email dr.porterkman@gmail.com or call 946-9020 to book your appointment today. That is 946-9020.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And thanks to Javi for sitting with us, and for you listening and sharing your thoughts with us. Let's go to our phones. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne, and good afternoon, Jerry.
Good afternoon, Mom. Afternoon. How are you?
I'm so glad to hear you back again.
Thank you, and I'm so glad that I have such a wonderful, supportive team. I don't even want to say, I mean, that's not even a word to do them justice. They're right here, man.
Kathy was good. I mean, she was simply like you, just the female.
Just better. Oh, you say simply like me, but better. Amjad said, you know, she was such a pleasant voice. I mean, so you all can say it's okay.
Yes, and then, and also Jerry, I'm glad to hear him.
Always. Thank you.
And you're coming from England?
Yes, I'm going
by
back
way of
soon.
Bordentown.
By way of Bordentown, yeah.
Okay, but you're not a Limey yet, right?
No. I'm still a Caymanian, ma'am.
You're still West Bay of Bordentown?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good.
Good
to hear that. Anyway, it was a few questions that I need to ask, and if you can answer, if either one of you that can answer, I would appreciate it. If not, I would just have to satisfy with what you all tell me. Anyway, I am concerned. I'm always concerned about something, because this is not like the Cayman that I knew before, where people help people. My concern is, during, many times this has hit me, but during our bad weather time, where Meals on Wheels cannot go around and do what they humbly do, and do it with such a good spirit. Deliver meals to people that need them. I wonder who did that. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that they delivered to. Mm-hmm. Who did that? Because for a day or two, we couldn't be on the roads and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I wonder, how did those people fare off?
Mm-hmm. Was it done? Who did it?
Another great concern of mine is that we are talking about the hurricane shelters. And one MP, he said, he had built the one in West Bay. Well, we need 2-3 of them now. I'm always talking about a multi-purpose hall, not only for hurricane, for anything. But I'm wondering, how are you going to put people in that shelter that are not vaccinated, that are mental, and we got them walking around up till just now I was coming from town. I seen 4 that is normally around between Foster's and Subway. 2 of them I know sleep in the Rotary bus shelters. Now, where are we going to put these mental people? I want an MP to tell me what are they doing and what are they trying to do for these mental people. Dr. Lockhart is an excellent doctor. I respect him with all that I have, but he can't do everything. What are we doing as concerned people? I hear about a concerned citizen group, but they're just having meetings. I don't know what they're doing. And another thing, they also say that when you get in that shelter, you social distance. Listen, I work in those shelters. I worked in 2 of them because I was with the Red Cross in 2004. My home didn't get any damage, thank God. I could have came home. And we didn't have enough space in West Bay, John Cumber School Hall, at that time. Now we have more people living in West Bay than ever, and we're talking about social distancing. How is that done? You cannot turn away a person when they come to that door saying they need shelter. You cannot. Even if you had to stand them up the whole time. And we, as Red Cross workers, had to do that. I need our MPs to start answering some of these questions. I need to hear, I don't know which other Caymanian is concerned, and I hope they are. I need to have answers for these questions. They've been in there long enough. And I'm talking about this government. I'm talking about people that have been in there for 30 years, for 15 years, for 20 years. But yet, West Bay do not have a multi-purpose hall, and that is some of my concern. Mm-hmm. Who is feeding these people? Who's looking after these people if we have bad weather? Who is going to see that they have, because obviously their family don't have any control of them or don't care.
Right. But as you shared too, maybe it's not only bad weather, but what about weekends and public holidays?
Exactly.
Yes, ma'am.
I gave one money this morning, and I felt bad giving him money because I knew what he was going to do with that money. Usually I'll buy the food, and I said, you want money for food? No, I want money No. I buying you food. If you're that hungry, you're going to eat whatever I buy. I don't feel guilty about that. But I feel concerned for them because they're human beings. And we need to know these things as Caymanians, as people with concern. What are our representatives doing? Even say pushing along another one for like how it is being built in Eastern area for the mental, something like that. I know that Jackie is working very hard in West Bay, and that shelter can only hold 8. We got double that or triple that amount of mental people. And one more thing, when we cleaning up after the storm, there is 10 men sitting under the tree. Peter and myself help our neighbors. Still, our yard need to be cleaned up. I was just telling Miss Susan that we lost just about all our fruit and most, but we got a life. God still leave us with life. So that's what we used to do many years ago when we helped each other. I want to see that return. That's the Caymanian way. And thank you for listening.
Thank you for calling.
I need for any MP, I don't care who it is, to get on the radio and talk about what their intention is of helping these mental people, not only in disasters, on weekends, counseling, also people that depend on Meals on Wheels for a meal, but Saturday and Sunday, they don't do these meals. Where is the food coming from?
Yes, Mom.
And I beg them not to talk, not to talk any foolishness to me or to the public, because I would know it is foolishness because I am out there working and I know a lot of those people.
Yes, Mom.
So thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Good afternoon to both of you.
God bless, Mom. All right, with that, Jevi, you got time? If not, when you roll, man. We got a quick break?
Yeah, good.
Let's do that. You want to take us to the break?
No. We'll talk when we come out.
All right. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
46 years of affordable, dependable, quality furniture is what Tomlinson Furniture has been giving the Cayman community. Come celebrate their anniversary with them. Sale starts Monday, August 23rd through to Tuesday, August 31st. Huge savings on everything in stock, including the mattress gallery. Never seen prices like these before on bedroom sets, solid wood chests, dining sets, TV stands. Spin the wheel with each purchase for a chance to win instant cash back and other prizes. No setup fees, delivery island-wide. Great looks, best prices, always. Tomlinson Building, Walkers Road.
Powerhouse Gym at King Sports Center. The summer sale is here. 1 week only. August 25th to 31st. Take 30% off your annual gym membership. That's right, 30% off. And the first 50 people to sign up receive a free gift of health from Total Health. Stronger body, saving money, and free gifts. That's a win, win, win. For 20 years, so much has changed. Through it all, King Sports Center has been here for you, for Cayman. King Sports Center, celebrating 20 years as Cayman's home for fitness, recreation, and relaxation. Take 30% off your gym membership with the King Sports Center Summer Sale, August 25th to 31st.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Pure and cleaner.
Pure
Puritan Cleaners would like to remind customers the closing time for all stores is 5:30 p.m. Savannah Countryside, 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Elgin Avenue, 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Puritan Cleaners, 337 Eastern Avenue. Drive-through, rain or shine. 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Now 10% off prepaid on $20 orders and up. Household and wedding dresses remain at standard offer. 10% off on prepaid orders. Drop off and transfer for pickup from any of the 3 Puritan stores for your convenience. Call 949-7104. Puritan Cleaners. You feel good when you look good.
The 8:10 a.m. weather report, Monday through Friday, is proudly sponsored by Pan American International Insurance Corporation. Pan American International Insurance Corporation, meeting the life, accident, and health insurance needs of individuals and businesses to ensure financial security and peace of mind. For more information, call 949-8304 or visit www.palig.com. That's PALIG.com.
Spend quality time with your child to show you care about their health, wellness, and success. Celebrate their achievements, forgive their mistakes, listen to them when they have a problem, and show interest in how they plan to solve it. Young people are more likely to listen when their parents are engaged. They know you're on their side. Talk with your child early about making health-conscious decisions for life. For tips, log on to www.ndc.ky. This message was brought to you by the National Drug Council and Radio Cayman.
Shaken yet standing firm. This is Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening and calling. And certainly thanks for the company of Jevy for sitting with us as we go to our phones. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Hey, good afternoon.
Afternoon. How are you today?
Hey, not too bad. Yourself, Dwayne? And afternoon, Jevy.
Good afternoon.
This is Lance Jefferson.
Oh, you see that, man? I bet you, if you were on YouTube now, boy, you would see that smile, that shine. What do you think, man?
Boy, all the time, man, all the time. You got the perfect hair for that.
That's what I say, bro. Well, welcome, man. Thanks for listening and sharing with us, man.
Yeah, thanks. I just want to say a big shout out to the West Bay cleanup crew.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys have been doing an amazing job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, out of every bad situation, there's always a silver lining. And through that hurricane that they say was a tropical depression, Grace,
mm-hmm.
I still feel it was a hurricane, but needless to say,
mm-hmm.
throughout the damage and stuff that we got, you know, a lot of people, their homes, we got a lot of minor damage, but a lot of trees and stuff were down.
Mm-hmm.
But the silver lining to this event was the fact that we actually got Caymanians at work. And, you know, I spoke with a few of them, and they mentioned that, you know, Lance, I wish we had 2 more coming. So, you know, like, it's heartening to hear
mm-hmm.
some of these individuals that are actually willing and able to work,
mm-hmm.
and then hearing from the other side where they're talking about, oh, Caymanians don't want to work. Like, I feel that if I ever hear someone say that, like, because I've been in the same situation where I was without a job for like 2 years, and it wasn't that I didn't want to work, it just wasn't getting hired.
Or that you don't have the experience or the expertise. You just...
And it wasn't even that.
Exactly.
I mean, to be honest, like I went to interviews where they told me, well, son, I didn't expect to see a resume of this caliber,
mm-hmm.
right? So like, but at the same time, like, this is an awesome opportunity
mm-hmm.
for our MPs to reevaluate where they really want to put us as far as Caymanians, and I think that this is the perfect time to put us out front, not in the laundry rooms, that like as they would say. And then the other thing about it too is when we look at the tourism industry, unfortunately, this COVID situation has put us in a really bad predicament, and it's not going away anytime soon. And so we have to look at other industries that are continuing to be successful And maybe there might be a shift that we might be able to do in order to pull some of these individuals that were tourism-centric into these other industries. We just got to continue to be vigilant and continue to take care of our own. It's a sad state that we're in right now, but I think if we all continue to work together, we can be successful. And, you know, this opening of the borders right now, I think we have to be very, very careful. I know there's a lot of individuals that want us to have the borders open, and, you know, ultimately they're looking for that almighty dollar. But at the same time, right now we are so fortunate that we can go to school without masks, we can go to work without, you know, and we can actually go to supermarkets, and you know, like we have a great freedom that are basically at our fingertips right now. And, you know, like opening up those borders, like what's that gonna entail, you know? So like, I think we need to be very cautious about what we're trying to achieve, and just take our time and make sure we do all of our due diligence.
Right. So let me then, before I ask you this question, let me then comment on what you said first. I think having the people at work shows not just a pride, but the ethos within the society that people want, you know, a help up, not a handout. They're willing to work and get a paycheck to feel the sense of worth, value, and contribution, as opposed to standing in the bread line and being, you know, given something. They want to earn that something. That just shows you, right?
I mean, I've been in, like I said, I was in a position where I've got 2 degrees and 10 years experience, and there's an elderly lady that she said to me, she said, Lance, get a job, something is better than nothing. And I was like, you sure, miss? And she said, yeah, get a job. I said, all right. Well, one of my cousins, he had an opportunity to help me get a little job in construction, and at that point in time, they were working on the Kristen Hunter School. So for me, living in West Bay, I had to wake up early, get a bus, jump. I didn't have a car at that time either, so I had to jump on a bus from Watercourse Road. Then I had to jump on another bus from Georgetown to get to Frank Sound. And then, so you look at that in itself, right? That was almost $5 to get up there. And you're working for a Mexican, making $6 an hour, right? Like, how are we supposed to be like successful or even? I don't know. It's very heartening. Like I said, even remembering the experience that I went through. But on the flip side, you know, you have this organization called Work, and you know, they are trying their hardest to find individuals these jobs and stuff. But one of the key reasons why that they are not as successful as they are is because of these other recruitment agencies that are out there. Now, these recruitment agencies, they might see an individual like myself, which has 2 degrees and 10 years experience, and they can place me in a position. But the downfall to that is they'll probably only get like a one-time fee off of me, whereas they can actually take out work permits, hire someone from Canada, bring them down here, put them in a position that they end up, I don't know, making off of that same individual, they probably end up making $100. Let's say even $300 a month off of that individual. Now, this is where we come to play in regards to saying modern day slavery, because the day that individual decides to say, well, you know what you guys are doing are wrong. I should be making more than what I'm making. Okay, here what we're going to do. We're going to pull your permit, and you can go back to where you come from. So because of that situation, this is paradise that we live in. You know, people they're going to be acting on their best behavior. But like I said, they're not. You got 100 people, recruiters that you're getting $100 a month from, versus the one individual that you're getting $50 a month for the one time. You know, like that's where our I would say is a big opportunity for us to, I guess, regulate and enforce more in regards to the that particular industry.
So then, with that in mind, if that is what is transpiring, and we see, and like you, I think it's offensive, it's unfounded, and it should not be tolerated. Our people not only have a great work ethic, of course, more of us need to continue to exhibit that, not play into the hands and, allow the negativity to weigh us down. Easier said than done. We need to continue to upskill and to perform and the like.
True.
But if the challenge is that as a people, through our laws, lack of enforcement, our policies, we allow certain things to transpire that makes the employment of others more attractive, more economically feasible, then that's on us.
It definitely is. It definitely is. Yep.
I mean, how many people will pay $1 for something if they can get the same thing for less? I mean, there are those of us who will say, you see that thing? That only costs 1 cent, but I paid $100 for it. You know why? Because I got more money than cents. Very few people will say that, right? They would say, boy, you see that thing there? I niggled that down, boy, and I was able to negotiate, and I got that down to, a fraction of the cost. See how smart I am as a businessman? That's most people. At least I think so, right?
That's it.
Yeah. So again, you shared that we are at a space where people would rather get something rather than anything, and like the wisdom of the lady who said to you, to get a job, the person who is employed probably finds employment easier than the person who is unemployed.
I'll be honest with you. In my situation, during that time where I was without a job for 2 years, I was eating better than I did when I had a job. One, I was eating fish, conch, lobster, milk, barbecue chicken.
Barbecue chicken, huh? I wonder where you get that from.
The best one, Chef John. but
shameless plug there, boy.
But needless to say, like it's difficult out there, and you got a lot of single parents out there trying to do what's right. It's like I said, the opportunities are there, and I just think that we need to do something in order to give our people more of an opportunity and not put them in the laundry room at these big hotels and stuff.
I think that, from what you're saying, that as we go into the break again, we maybe reflect on what is happening and ask ourselves with the challenges. Maybe it's just an opportunity in disguise. It's not just about semantics. It's not just about being positive and optimistic. Those are important things. But we can see what's before us and maybe ask ourselves, are we willing to move from the industry or the career we thought we had or wanted into what we now need to do in order to make ends meet? And are those opportunities there? To your point, if I can draw an inference, if a government will say to the prospective employer who may be either applying for a new permit or renewing one, listen, you got Mary James and John over here who need a work. Okay, they come in from this sector, but you now need people in this sector. They're willing to, move across. Are they trainable? I've gone into the bank, and we used to see in the bank teller to be a relatively young person, right? Relatively new to the banking sector. And how many times in many jurisdictions, including here, have we started to see an older person, maybe no longer in their teens, early 20s, but maybe in their late 30s and 40s and the like, on the front line, either as a teller or some other endeavor. Right, Jerry?
I mean, I have conflicting views on this subject, because on one hand, I want the best for Caymanians. I want Caymanians to have the opportunities. I want Caymanians to not only have the opportunities, but to use the opportunity in the right way to better themselves and to better their community. But I'm not alluding that this is what the caller was saying.
No.
Maybe slightly how I interpreted it. But I think as Caymanians, we need to be okay doing the smaller jobs. That's not to say you'll always do the smaller job. I'm saying, what if you're working in an establishment and you want to be the manager? But the best possible way you could be the manager is if you've done the job of the people you will be managing. You know how long it's going to take to do this particular task. You know what is involved.
Right.
That makes you a much qualified person to be a manager.
Right.
Than somebody who doesn't have the experience. I use myself as the experience. When I started on radio, I didn't even speak. My job was free. My job was to go in the radio station at a particular time in the morning when I knew a football match was going to come on, pull the volume up. When it's time to go to commercial, pull the volume down. I didn't start out on air. Now, just using me as an example. I sometimes fear when I hear our people say, well, we shouldn't be doing this kind of job and that kind of job. I make it clear to anybody. I worked in tourism before I worked in the media. And should one day the media no longer doing it for me,
go back to tourism.
I'd happily go back to tourism. I used to work at the airport taking out people's luggage. You think because now that I talk on the radio and people like to hear my voice that I'm suddenly not going to do that anymore? No. You know, of course I want the best possible position, you know, that I can apply myself to.
Right.
But if the circumstances come that I need to be doing another kind of job, it should not be a problem.
Right. Lance, we've got a break to take, man. Hey, thanks for what you're sharing, all right?
I appreciate it.
All right. Blessings to you. And, you know, we certainly commend the cleanup crew and the workers and all. We'll talk about that. When you come back, more talk today.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Today is the final day for Tomlinson Furniture's anniversary sale. Huge savings on everything in stock, including the mattress gallery, never seen prices on bedroom sets, dining sets, solid wood chests, TV stands, and much, much more. For every purchase made, you can spin the wheel for even more cash back and instant prizes. But you only have today left, so get on down to Tomlinson Furniture, located on the corner of Hospital and Walkers Road, for great savings on their anniversary sale. Sale ends today, Tuesday, August 31st.
For the first time in over 45 years, the University College of the Cayman Islands is having an alumni homecoming gala dinner on October 28th. The event highlights the kickoff of the UCCI Alumni Network, a community of professionals helping the university and one another. If you're a UCCI graduate, join the network today and let your fellow classmates know about it. Visit ucci.edu.ky/alumni and come give us a hand with UCCI's first ever homecoming.
Each Tuesday and Thursday from 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m.
The Tuesday and Thursday edition of The Business Buzz is brought to you by Lee's Office Products, offering the best products at the most competitive prices, satisfaction guaranteed, and great service. Telephone 949-2303.
Hello, Cayman. This is your Miss Cayman Islands Universe, Mariah Tibbetts. Join me and our 9 lovely contestants at this year's pageant on Saturday, September 11th at the Westin Hotel. Doors open at 6 p.m. and the show starts at 7 p.m. The tickets are available at Funky Tangs and Sand Angels. A huge thank you to our corporate sponsors, the Ministry of Tourism, Radio Cayman, Compass Media, and Cayman Airways. The journey to the crown continues.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to the Jevi for his company, and to you for listening and calling. Jeff, we got a couple of calls. Well, let's go to the phones. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon again, Mr. Sterling.
Welcome back again, my friend.
I was listening to one of Rihanna's songs, and I think, to what I can remember, in one of those songs it said, people going to say what they want to say, whether you do bad or good. Right? Hello?
Yes. Yeah. I was trying to think if I know the lyrics, and Susan or Joel not there to guide me.
Please don't sing it, Sterling.
Yeah,
please.
Hey, listen to me. All right.
You know, but I'd like to say it too that you know that the same little guy, the same little whether he be the little man or the small man or whoever.
My friends say the big spoon, little spoon.
Yeah, or somebody that they say use drugs or whatever. We still gotta try to help the person. If they don't want to help themselves, we can't do anything about that. But we still gotta try to help the homeless. And even if they're using drugs or whatever, still try to help the person. We don't know, he can make a change in life. He or she can make a change in life, and how will we feel when they make that change? We don't know what level or levels they will be on. We can't just, because somebody is down, that we got to just stand up on top of them like a mud or something, I mean, we got to do a little better, really. And because, you see, when you help the man to get over the hill, you help him over the hill, and he'll take the rope and he'll throw it over so that you can climb up, and get over the hill too.
Yeah, man.
You see,
help each other.
Yeah, and I have seen a lot of people change their lives in life, and change to such great levels that it is actually unbelievable. People just cannot believe that those people change for the better in that way. So we just have to believe in the power.
Yeah, man. And I think that's the thing, that power, when you share, some of us may recall, we may even sing it, change my heart, oh Lord. Maybe we're not praying for ourselves to be better. We spend so much time, change him. Start like what Jerry said, with the man in the mirror. You want to take the next call, Jerry?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling. Want to start this?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I got some pains I would love to sell you, so.
Yeah, well, once it now beachfront land in Arizona.
Open a pain bank.
Yeah. A lady like you who knows, what that feels like, and yet have the grace and the graciousness, blessings to you, my lady.
Yeah. I was on another media earlier on this morning, and it was doing a little discussion on, work permits and status and so forth. But I always said I can recall that driving through Georgetown in 2003 when they had these, everybody was standing in the line there, such a long line. That was where the old, where it was the police station there. There used to be the record place there, lined up, and it must have been every one of those people had a yellow envelope in their hand. That was a massive status grant, and I always say that Caymanians, grassroots Caymanians, which is not much of us left, has got a culture shock from that, and they would never ever shake out of that, because sometimes you grant status, they bring their children and grandchildren and great grandchildren, and it goes on and goes on. And of course, Caymanians now, such cost of living is so high, and even when they're getting pregnant, they're telling them about, you're pregnant and you can't support it and this and that, and and when they go NAU, it's like torture. because they had to wait, and they send emails and no replies, and they got to go out there and chase them up and down and Caymanians get fed up. They doesn't want to go back. But it was talking about the stipend now too. They was saying like how people have to get back to work, and some people doesn't want to go to work now because they are lazy. But like I said, COVID-19 didn't come here for no reason. I guess it happens because of the way people live too, and we are still gracious that we can, like, say, walk around and without mask, and except for the hospitals and so certain public places, you know, and we can still go around our families and our friends and stuff, where a lot of people in different parts of the world, you know, can't even do that and they're dying off. But like I said, with the status, you're saying that there is not a law that protects or few grassroots Caymanians, like I said, that we have left to get jobs, you know what I mean? The status holders have the same right. But what I'm saying is, from the time, sometimes it looks like when they get status, they get treated just like the grassroots Caymanians, and basically it seems like there is work permit holders partly taking over the place with the jobs and different job sites and businesses that you go to. And you're wondering like how this thing is going on here in COVID-19. It's so much work permits being open, and how this is happening, and you know, it's like people is going through the back door and getting, you know, taken care of. A lot of people at the front door can't even get in.
With the greatest of respect, maybe if you'd allow us just to interject this news break there. Thanks for that comment, Jev. You know, when we come back, we'll see where time takes us. By the way, your hair looks good though.
Thank you.
Right. If you want to see, tell your friend, go on YouTube, but focus on Jev only, okay?
That's too much.
Just after the break.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
As kids head back to school, the Department of Environmental Health advised that parents and guardians follow some recommendations while safely preparing and packaging lunch boxes. Here are some tips prepared by the food safety team. Packing a safe lunch as kids return to school. Pack lunch in the morning, not from the night before. Use insulated lunch boxes to keep food at a safe temperature until lunchtime. When packing a hot lunch, use an insulated container to keep it hot. Make sure that chill foods are below 5 degrees Celsius or 40 degrees Fahrenheit before packing into lunch boxes, and frozen containers of juice or water or ice packs can be used to keep food cold until lunchtime. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. Authorities in Cyprus are monitoring an oil slick that originated from a power plant on Syria's Mediterranean coast and could soon affect the island. Syrian state media said last week there had been a spill from the plant, which is inside the Banias oil refinery. Satellite imagery showed that the slick spread north along the Syrian coast before moving eastwards towards Cyprus. And Cristiano Ronaldo says he is back where he belongs at Manchester United and has dedicated his return to the club to former boss Sir Alex Ferguson. United have paid an initial €15 million to sign the 36-year-old from Juventus a decade after he left the club to join Real Madrid. He has signed a 2-year contract with the option to extend for another year. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us in the studio. Excellent company of Jevi. Jevi, our callers, I think, with deference to you, been prompted by your presence, the fact that you bring to the table such an insightful and intellectual discourse that it makes us want to not just be pensive, productive, but put forward some positive proposals as to what we can do as viable solutions, man. So thanks very much, man. Instead of going back to school, why don't you just stay here, host the show? I become governor. Just kidding. Hey, thanks very much. No, but thank you. I mean, I got a bunch of things that's sort of prompted by what the callers have shared, but your thoughts, man. Anything you want to jump in on, or can I put one last thing that came through the WhatsApp just then?
I think you should go to the WhatsApp.
No, Jevi has, just as a disclaimer, I haven't shared this with Jevi. I'm not expecting you to respond.
Right.
I never ever want anybody to feel like they're thrown under the bus, they're being taken advantage of, whichever. Right? So this message has come in, and it's in relation to the caller before last that talked about a cautious approach to reopening and the like, and has shared two things. I'm going to paraphrase part of it. More isn't always more. We can get a lot of stuff if we start to appreciate that. And to use an example as diamonds, if we restrict the supply, even if there is limited supply, we create greater value because people now see it as precious and valuable. So in the Cayman context, instead of throwing open the borders, not the person, we had a little exchange as you saw during the break with the listener who was, the person isn't saying that that's what the government is proposing or anything, right? But is sharing that we don't do that we don't be driven by just, mass approach to more. We make it not exorbitant, not trying to extract more, but we make it so that it feels like the diamonds, that this is valuable because not everybody can have it at the same time.
Yeah.
And then ask the question, if the perception is that this thing that we're going to be doing next is driven, and the person put it in quotation marks, by the private sector, right? Have we asked the Caymanian what the Caymanian wants? And is this a thing, despite the time, despite the cost, is this a thing that would be suited for a level of referendum? Get the public's input on what we should do
about the reopening. No,
time and
that's my personal.
Your personal opinion? Okay.
No, there seems to, and again, this is my personal opinion. If others feel differently, then by all means,
right? Okay.
Call in and say so. I don't think everything needs to go to a referendum.
Okay.
We have elected persons who act on our behalf.
Okay.
They must have some discretion within their job. I don't agree with the notion that the government is somehow just opening up to everyone. I think the government, and I don't speak on behalf of the government. Yes, I may have friends there, but I am not attempting to speak on behalf of the government. It is from my understanding that is not what is happening. It is opening in a phased approach. Not everybody can come in at one time. I think they said that the next phase of the approach would be a test phase for the high tourism season. And so even there alone, I think people should take some satisfaction. It's not everyone.
Right.
And I do think that probably there is, to a certain extent, starting with the more wealthy and the more affluent. Because, they come here and they spend money. That money then comes back into the economy and helps us. But I think we have to, just as a people, we have to acknowledge that the borders cannot stay closed forever.
Right.
That's plain and simple. If people are saying, oh, well, the government's plan to open the borders are solely based off of money. Well, okay, let's stop looking at money. Let's start looking at the people.
Right.
The longer you keep the borders closed, the longer people are without jobs, the longer that they are requiring government assistance.
This comes back to money.
Which comes back to money. So if money is not your concern, well, fine, stop thinking about the money. Think about the impact of keeping the borders closed. It's everybody's personal decision whether they take the vaccine or not. I encourage those people to take the vaccine. If you have questions, then you should reach out to medical professionals and have your questions answered. But ultimately, my understanding of the government is the government operates for the majority. There will never be a circumstance where a government, regardless of who it is, can please everyone. Somebody is always going to get the nasty end of the stick. I know we're on radio and can't say, they're going to get the bad end of the stick. But
or just
it's
a
not,
stick.
or just a stick. But it's not to say that the government wants these people to get the bad end of the stick. It's just life. The government has to sit down. They have to make the tough decision. They have to listen to Dr. Lee and the other advisors, and then they have to make the tough decision. Do we open or not? And it's easy for us to sit down and say, listen, we need to keep the borders closed and keep our people safe. But can we keep our people safe if we continue to keep our borders closed? Can we continue to, in a certain extent, pay for the government paying for example, government isolation for students and those people who are traveling for a purpose, right? Not traveling for vacation. Can we keep that up if we keep our borders closed? My best answer is no.
Right. It's not sustainable, but I'll be mindful to share what I think is a very wise gentleman's perspective that he shared with us. But to that point, as we go to the callers, the first of the next two calls, whether it's the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Lee, or other medical professionals, whether it's the politicians, the elected or appointed, or those in the shadows, the question is, as a general populace, if we don't like what is being proposed, how do we actively, responsibly, civilly get engaged, get involved, get informed, and help to bring forth a level of dialogue and decision making that reflects what is the perspective? If
I think the first thing is you have to acknowledge that things do not just happen.
Exactly.
There seems to be this perception that because this person is now elected, the buck now stops with them. They can do anything they want. That may not be the case. It takes personal responsibility to find out how does the process work, what am I trying to achieve, and then actually going out there and trying to make change. I hazard to jump to, I feel nowadays a lot of people are jumping to last resort items. We're going to go protest. We're going to go and do but what else have you
done? Exactly.
What else have you done?
Right.
And so I think those things need to be taken into consideration.
Right.
Now, again, the call for referendum. I don't think that there needs to be a referendums. Simply put, referendums cost a lot of money. They cost millions of dollars. People in government, for example, the person who run the elections, Mr. Wesley Howell, he also serves in another capacity. And when elections and these stuff come about, he then has to go from one ministry working in the next and focus only on elections. So these things cost money. It's got to be more than just shouting out or saying things that sound good.
Right.
It got to be more than sound good.
Right. Well, let's hear what our callers, because they always sound good. Let's go back to the phones. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon again.
Oh, hey, welcome back. And thank you, too. We had that news break, and I'm glad, and for what it's worth, hope we didn't offend you. So thank you.
The caller there, I don't hope I didn't misunderstood what he said, but he's saying that government normally stands for the majority of people. But that statement can be true and that statement can be false, because we have an election every 4 years. And if the government was so-called taking care of the majority, why did they rule? Why did they went out there and voted for the independent? Why did years by they changed different government? It's not that is the reason, because not everyone was out there that, and majority puts the government back there. They put them there and they move them, and most of them who move them are civil servants. They move the government and put the government back. So that part now, I kind of disagree.
So I wanted to maybe ask you, you said civil servants, is that because you think as a number, as a percentage of the population, that there's such a large number of people, or why do you think that this is civil servants that makes or breaks the government?
Well, they work within the government, and it's a silent jail and freedom.
you know. So
okay.
they're in there and they cannot stand up and speak up like how they feel. So that's the only time every 4 years that they can get a chance to have a voice, you know, by going in there and putting that mark on the
right. So you're making the assumption that based on a large number that however the civil service, but then I won't like this kind of discussion because they're drawing in some interesting inferences. We have to then assume that as civil servants, they have this organized approach and a collective vision as to how they're going to vote, as opposed to that individual mark of the ballot when they confidentially go into the ballot box and say, I'm going to put my mark by A, B, C, or D.
You like to say, you know, they're in the departments and people, each other, you know, they talk amongst each other and all that, and you know, they be talking, and then if they see their boss come in there, they keep quiet and all, and things of the managers or whatever. If the managers is with them, then
okay.
They it's freedom open, because some of the managers are against the system that goes on too, you know what I mean? So
okay.
they feel more comfortable if they got a good manager. But if they're not got a good manager or good director, then that is with jumping on every bandwagon and every government come in, then they don't have anything too much. They do it secretly. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So yeah, and then another thing is they have a cynical care given, where there are people that you know, get care or get
the home care.
Okay. And they have a policy there that cannot be relatives of the member of neither birth or marriage family that cannot take care of, you know, say you have a mother and you have a sister there that wants to take care of your mother.
You can't do it.
It got to go through cynical, and you know that you all confident as the rest of the children. You know, we want our sister there or aunt to take care of that, and or you know, and it's not allowed. But why don't they allow that? Because right there is a benefit or for the person that need the care, and it's a better environment for them to have their family around and stuff like that, and they feel more comfortable and more open.
Who would love you more than your own, right?
You understand? And what happened is that when this they got to bring in strange people and just say their children is out working or something, they're just thinking on their mother. They can't focus like how they should, because you know what's going on. What if the mother can't talk and they're lying in the bed just ready to
you have that concern as well.
Yeah.
But
I kind of think that this is a wrong thing, because I don't know why they don't want to do it. It's not because if the family member have to be paid through the cynical. I mean, that family member have to give that person that money. It's only be a foolish family member to sit down there and take care of that family member and keep them out shut, and then I'm receiving their money.
Right.
Because I know a Caymanian kind of speak up. I understand, and if they get a foreigner to work there, they can get the money probably from cynical or whatever now and give them what they feel like giving them, and the foreigner can keep shut up because they won't continue to stay here on the work permit. So it's more of a fraud rate and a corruption when there is a foreigner that is taking care of these people or having, like, you know, helper positions, because probably, you know, the foreigner is not going to speak up and say, well, oh, I supposed to be making $800 from cynical, my money, but my boss is only giving me $400 out of it.
Right.
You know
I think too, to your point too, maybe it's also the family member recognizing that sometimes we need to either leave the job in order to take care of that person, or may have to somehow negotiate a reduced salary or be absent from work, so that money that could be paid to a stranger, as you said, could then be used to subsidize the family member's care. With great deference again. Why? We got another caller. We got another break to take. So let's just ask you to rejoin us another time as we pause. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Busy busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Save every day with FedEx. Get 40% off when you ship using FedEx International Priority and an additional 5% off on your next shipment. Visit us. Visit FedEx.com keyword Caribbean discount to learn more.
Back to school sale at Optical Outlook is on.
What? Summer just started?
We know, right?
I got you. Cool.
As I was saying, Optical Outlook back to school sale is on now. From now until September 1st, any student gets 50% off. That's half off lenses. Offer valid at all 3 locations: J. Scott Plaza in West Bay, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Cayman Brac. Call 746-2020 to make your appointment today. Come see the difference with Optical Outlook, Cayman's premier optical provider.
The Department of Environmental Health would like to advise West Bay residents of a vegetation debris collection from August 30th till September 4th. West Bay residents are asked to only place vegetation waste on the curbside where it is easily accessible to DEH collection crews. Do not obstruct the roadway or storm drains or place household trash. For more information on the West Bay collection from August 30th to September 4th, please contact DEH's Solid Waste Management Section at 949-6696.
This is your radio.
I don't want no chip-up-a-dead, chip-up-a-dead. Now I want no chip-up-a-dead, I get my dumpling hole.
Thank you for making us your choice. Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. And in the studio, Javi, thank you very much for. People are going to think, who's that Javi? Well, he's not Javi with the belly, he's Javi with the brain. Oh, gosh. And the camera, and the audio, the video. All right.
We had a caller?
Oh, okay. Oh, he's smart too. Let's go to the phone. Say good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon.
Oh, there you are. Thank you for joining us, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, I gotta try to make this very short. I don't talk too much because they say I talk too much.
No, man, we're listening closely.
And I don't like that trouble.
Trouble don't blow shelter, tell us.
Yeah, that is the part I was talking about. I said the wealth could spread amongst the Caymanians, you know. And the Caymanians don't want to be helpers, they don't want to be cleaners. But, you know, if they're making, some of them may be making up to $3,000 a month if it's a registered nurse. And they got to go do some class, get registered, and then they can get all $2,000 a month for nursing assistant, and they can get $1,200 a month for a care assistant. So I think that we got enough Caymanians out there that can, you know, do that. I mean, I don't think that we that bad off. Anyway.
But yeah, thanks, man. Thanks. And maybe before you go, maybe this is where we need to be consciously aware. It needs to be actively promoted. And we as a people need to start to appreciate. Like you said, that sector of caregivers going and becoming nurses, probably one of the most honorable professions, like education, or becoming engaged through UCCI and other places where you get a level of certification.
That's a good start off. $3,000 a month for a person that even a school leaver.
Yeah.
You know? That is a very good money, and you know, school leavers now how difficult to find a job. You can take them from in school and train them.
Let me ask the question though, and maybe this is, some would say, old-fashioned, but I think there's almost feel a calling on our lives, and there are some professions, and like I said, it may be considered old-fashioned, but I think education and healthcare are two areas where you're not there just for the pay. You're there because of the sort of gratitude for the position, the level of service, and that approach. Men are called. What is it they say? Something to think about, huh?
You are chosen. Yeah, but what I'm saying to you is that if they can have a passion for it, and
Right.
a good salary can bring in about a passion up too.
Well, you know what? Somebody's got to pay to play, but you got to be, Hey, thank you very much, Mom. That's it. All right.
One more second though.
Yeah, man.
And same thing as with NAU. They have a policy of that with rent, like how people is homeless, and like say you have a child, but the child is an adult or whatever, and you got them in a room at your home, but you want them to be responsible, and they helping them out, but you as a parent or parents cannot afford, a family member cannot afford to take care of that person, and they got to make a little income and make things better for them. They're telling the family members that they can go, they will pay for the rent, but they need to find rent, but they can't be family. It can't be family, but your family can be good enough to have the child or the family living with them for years, or living with them and riding them to pieces and making them poorer than what they are. But the family is not good enough to collect that rent money. But they would rather send that person out somewhere else and give it to somebody that probably already got enough wealth in their life or whatever. But that family members living with their family, so they're coming to be more comfortable. You understand? So that's another restriction they got to say, but it's a fraudulent, like whatever. How in the hell something can be fraudulent if you have a child or a niece or nephew living with you, and for sure that person is there and you collecting rent from any of you? How can that be fraudulent?
All right, thank you very much, and maybe like as the caller shared that, certainly appreciate you sharing. Jerry, maybe we need to revisit sometimes some of the, for want of a better term, the policies that we have. There was a time when I think we had the notion, and I know there was a fellow that worked in government and now is in the private sector, and we seem to ascribe a certain level of import to some people that really, there's not much to them. But we had this idea that if the person is alive, we can't name things after them, we can't celebrate them while they're alive. And I know that he was one that I heard repeatedly champion that. Can't name a road after this one, you can't name a building. I on a personal level, I disagree. They say give flowers while you can smell them and enjoy them, and see, that those who are presenting the flowers or bringing the plate of food or sharing the cassava cake are doing so because it's a genuine love and they want a fellowship. Kind of late, when you're in the casket and being laid to rest. So, like so much, we should be mindful that people are not gaming the system and their corruptive practices and they're abusing things. But surely, if we are people in a society don't have a level of honor, integrity, and honesty, look at the professions that are allowed to self-regulate. They're allowed to sanction their membership. Their membership. Law, medicine perhaps comes to mind. If the practitioners do something that offends the code of conduct or practice, they are sanctioned by the licensing regime that is the body. We don't need legislation to do that, right? If we have that integrity, that ethos, that level of ethic that should permeate who we are. I don't know, man. Is that another $1 million question, as you say?
Yeah, I believe you have nothing but $1 million questions today.
Well, listen, we must be of value now. We just can't accept mediocrity. We need to promote a sense of excellence.
I want you to ask your question again about the industries that self-regulate, because I wasn't fully sure I understood what you were asking.
Okay, so in that instance, right? Let's take, and it's presumably not just in Cayman, but we take legal and say medical professions, and their councils or bar associations or whatever they call. And let's use the law, for instance. If a body as lawyers have a code of conduct, and if a lawyer does something that offends that code of conduct, it's brought before the bar council, as it were, and is either sanctioned, you're disbarred, is the word they use, or put on probation or something. It's out and beyond the purview of the courts.
Right.
So it's not a criminal nor civil proceeding. It's your professional body saying to you, hey, you've done this, you violated the accepted standard of practice in the code of conduct, and so therefore, you can't hang your shield, you can't be this thing. Now, we also know that some associations say in order for you to continue to practice, continued education is needed. You need to demonstrate that you are always trying to improve. So if bodies like that can self-regulate and impose sanctions to the extent that if you are, again, as a lawyer, disbarred, you can no longer call yourself a lawyer or a doctor because you don't have this thing. Why is it then that we in our society can get to a place where that honor system is among the society, that we are doing these things, whether we're caring for our own, whether we're providing room and board for our own, we're not there to be corrupt. We're not there to game the system.
What you just described, and I think the main example you're using is the legal profession. I don't think that they are reprimanding people who may have broken, that code of conduct on an honor system. I don't think that's the case at all.
Okay.
I think there likely is internal, constitution, for lack of a better word, that if you are coming to join the Cayman Islands Bar Association, this is kind of what we expect from you. I'm assuming that that's what that is. But in terms of self-regulating, I do understand that from an offset, it can seem as somewhat of a conflict. But let's take the medical profession, for example. I want people in the medical profession to be able to criticize and reprimand their
colleagues.
Because they are the ones who still have the medical understanding, who can look at a situation and understand in the medical terms how
the standard
grave,
of care wasn't there, so
grave. I don't want the Joe public on the road determining the fine or the punishment for a medical doctor. So I believe that there are circumstances where self-regulation is needed. I don't think it's a free-for-all.
No.
The way it's being proposed. I'm not saying that these things don't happen. I'm just saying that I think there is a case to be made for self-regulation, especially if it's an industry-specific thing that you need specialized training and education for.
Yeah. Well, this is where I think unfortunately we see it as a luxury of time, allowing us to be able to engage in meaningful discourse. But back to what I think you were sharing again today, responsibility, the part of self. We got to be willing to take individual responsibility. We need to get engaged and informed. We need to accept that whatever we're doing, if we're consuming something, food or drink or something, or whether we're watching the thing that comes through, I call it the one-eye monster, we need to appreciate that. We need to have a level of discernment and not just take it as gospel. And even the gospel, we're told to question it, to try to understand it. Read this passage before and the passages after. Maybe read the book before and the book after, and appreciate that there's a level of understanding that is required. There's a level of maturity that is required, and a prayerful discernment. But if we keep pointing fingers, are we cognizant that there may be more pointing back at us? And to what extent are we going to be, responsible, civil, amenable? Not necessarily that we have to agree with everything. The majority may or may not be right. That lone dissenting voice may or may not be the voice of reason. But if we can't listen to each other's opinion and agree that on another occasion we have a different view, we don't move forward.
That's the problem that we have now. Social media creates these vacuum chambers.
Yeah.
You know, social media does well at showing you what you want to see. And so it's very easy to have an opinion and then to go on social media and see everything telling you why that opinion is the right one.
Yeah.
But the fact is, you need to engage with people who have completely different opinions from you. That's one of the reasons that I like talk radio. We can sit here and spout everything we want, but if somebody don't like what they have to say, they can call Susan, and Susan like, hey, there's a caller on the air. You know, let's go to the caller, and you can hear someone else's opinion. But if you're just staying in these vacuum chambers where all you're seeing are people who agree with you, how are you going?
Echo chamber.
How are you going? Echo chamber. Sorry. How are you going to grow?
Yes, sir.
You have to be willing to engage with people who you don't like. But the problem with that is when people begin to engage with people who they don't like, there then comes this attitude, which I certainly don't understand, where if I don't agree with you, then I must suddenly hate you. That's foolishness. And we need to stop it. We as human beings, when we talk with our friends and people, I don't want to hear my friends always agreeing with me. That's not a friend.
Can you
That's
imagine
a fraud.
if all of you good-looking people hung out together? Where would us ugly people go?
Jeez.
I mean, bro. Listen, Jerry, thank you very much, man.
Thank you.
And to Jerry's point, it's not about agreeing to disagree. It's about being civil, respectful, and responsible and engaging the person so that we learn, we grow, we improve, we contribute, and we see greater value, and we start to raise the bar. Hey, thanks very much, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right. Listen, Susan is right there. If you got a request and you want a song, if you don't even know, you just listen because it's going to be good. Tomorrow, join me start for the record and then come back for Talk Today right after the midday news and midday meditation. To my good friend, hopefully one day I'll be able to explain. Maybe one day there'll be an understanding. Maybe one day there'll be growth. And one day there'll be a semblance of what there is within the heart. Until then, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.